if I look back on the pain of that, it drove me out of the hotel industry for a couple of years because I didn't know how to draw the line.
Mhm.
I also didn't know how to advocate and ask for tools to do my job or tools for my people to do their job because I felt like it was inappropriate. And that's just, it comes from experience that it's not inappropriate, that actually it's actually inappropriate not to ask for the
Mm.
resources that you need to run your business because if you don't ask for them, guess what? You're not going to get them.
Hello and welcome to the Joyosity Podcast, where we are diving into the business of joy and creating positive culture with all those complex people that we work with. I'm Jen Whitmer, keynote speaker, author, and resident joy bringer. And this series is the courage to do it differently. Joy makes work work. These conversations were originally part of the research for my book, Joyosity: How to Develop Intense Happiness in Work and Life, even if things are what they are. And I was asking questions and interviewing these incredibly wise and gutsy people about their work and their leadership and creativity and what it really takes to build something meaningful. And so in this series, we're bringing this together for you. And this is part 2 of my conversation with Carrie Campbell. Carrie is the Senior Vice President of Evergreen Fenway, the group responsible for every event at Fenway Park, where the Red Sox aren't playing a game. And you might also recognize her from the final chapter of Joyosity. And in our first episode, we talked about how culture gets formed and her experience of learning leadership, right in the trenches of the hotel industry. And this one expands that on what courageous leadership actually looks like when those messy, complex humans are involved. This is where the dream of joyful work tends to collide with calendars, conflict, the pressure we put on ourselves, and all the stories we tell ourselves about what a good leader is supposed to carry. And Carrie talked so honestly here about boundaries and integration and the pressure she puts on herself and the shift from being a doer to being a strategic leader and the real art of saying no in a way that protects relationships instead of blowing everything up. We also talk about something I think a lot of leaders really quietly struggle with: knowing a conversation needs to happen and wanting to do it perfectly. So then they accidentally use the idea of ideal timing or doing it right as this pretty way of avoiding it. It's cute, but expensive. So here's part 2 of my conversation with Carrie Campbell.
I got hired at the Red Sox. And the position I was hired for was a new position. They were creating this position. And for me, there was so much low hanging fruit on how we could build this business together and hire the right people and inspire this hospitality culture in a sports setting and to build a business that's not baseball in that setting. And while you're building the business, making sure you're also building the culture to support the business has been fun. This job has felt entrepreneurial to me because we were building it from nothing. Versus my other jobs where I was stepping into something that was already in place.
I love how you've framed your journey, because I've heard you talk about your history, but never in this way.
Mm,
That here's where I learned it, here's where I got to apply it, and here's where I got to expand it.
yeah,
That's kind of what I'm hearing. And
yeah.
the thread is the same, but in the way that you've gotten to grow in that is really just such a fun
Mhm.
story. Um, one of the things that I have sort of heard you say that you alluded to in your story is that idea of, I didn't know how to set boundaries. There's balance. Often, I think many leadership jobs are interpreted to be lifestyle jobs. Like, you have to pick up the phone at 9 p.m. That happens in a lot of leadership roles. I think it's very easy in hospitality, which is in many
Yeah,
ways a 24/7 business.
yeah,
Um, and I think you've said something along the lines of, there's no such thing as work-life balance, there's just balance.
yeah. There's integration.
So what
Yeah.
does that look like first for you as a leader? Because you talk a lot about taking care of the other people, but what does that look like for you, Carrie Campbell, as the
Yeah. Oh, Jen.
oh, I asked hard ones.
I have done a lot of work, inner work on this, because the way that I'm wired is to want to show up at all times. And if I look back on the pain of that, it drove me out of the hotel industry for a couple of years because I didn't know how to draw the line.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't know how to advocate and ask for tools to do my job or tools for my people to do their job because I felt like it was inappropriate. And that's just, it comes from experience that it's not inappropriate, that actually it's inappropriate not to ask for the resources that you need to run your business, because if you don't ask for them, guess what? You're not going to get them.
Yeah.
So I think the integration for me as a leader looks like it isn't always on business. And there are times where I have to answer my phone. But if I know I'm not going to, I tell people it's communication.
Mm.
Hey guys, and my boss does this too. I'm off the grid after 5 o'clock. I'm out of pocket. If you really need me, text me. But I'm just telling you, I'm off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that if we have an event that's causing stress that I know I need to be available for. I don't do that if it's my own event. Or if it is my own event and I have to do that, I have a partner that's like, if you need anything, reach out to this person because I'm out of pocket. I also think for me, I tell myself a story about what needs to get done when, and it's pressure that I put on myself. And I've been schooled on this. I've been coached on this by my leaders of what are you talking about? Like why do you carry so much pressure and stress to get these things done at this time? Like I'm just wired to not want to have anything lingering on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
And as I navigate from doer to true strategic leader,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me because crossing things off a list feels productive.
Sure.
I do say there's no such thing as balance because in a live business like this, you can't just be like, well, I'm going to just close it up at 6 o'clock. What I will
Yeah.
say is integration. Your personal life is going to bleed into your work life, and
Yeah.
your work life is going to bleed into your personal life.
Yeah.
So for me and my team, if you need to be home on a certain day because that's the day that the new washing machine's coming, work from home.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to go call your mom at 10 o'clock and go for a walk around, if you need to go get your hair dyed, go during the business day. We want your hair to be dyed if that's going to make you feel like you're bringing your best self to work.
Yeah.
I don't care as long as you're doing your job, as long as, you're meeting expectations. And I know that we hire the right people so that 2 hours of your life, you're probably going to check your email at 7 o'clock at night because you were gone from 3 to 5 or not. If you're getting your job done, I think old school, especially hotels, and some of them are still this way. We come in at 8, we leave at 6. Doesn't matter if you're done with your job at 4 that day, you have to stay till 6. So bad.
Yeah. I call that managing the hours and not the outcomes.
Right.
Which is something that we actually don't have a lot of control over is time.
Right.
But when you look toward outcomes, even though we can't control the outcomes, we can manage people to help them meet outcomes.
Right.
And rather than managing hours, which is ultimately really ineffective.
Right. So it's that, and it's also people are human.
Yes. And they're going to people all day.
Yeah. And so sometimes there's course correction. Sometimes there's like, hey, you seem a little checked out. I don't want to go micromanaging on you. However, this feels like, you haven't been clocking your hours. I know it's so draining. I have to go and log in. I'm like, hey, listen, time out. I'm not asking for your commitment here. I'm asking for compliance.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to log in and log out. Now let's talk about what's getting in the way. Can you not do it from your phone? Do you need to put something into place? Like, a calendar notice or something, because that needs to get done. We're not asking, we're telling here. And that happens with the integration, right? There's people that are like, they get into a groove of it and they're like, oh, I can just work from home today, or I can just go in at noon. And that's not what we're doing. Like, we're trying to make it so that you can live your full life, and not like totally go to the far side of complete independence. Like, we need to see you in the office. We need, so, but I think from a leadership standpoint, being really transparent about that, like, this is a tough job. We're on 24/7. we're trusting you to know when you need to be here, when you need to be on. Um, and that also means I don't want to hear that you had an event and you weren't here and you knew the event was going on and the event manager was texting you and you were like, well, I wasn't at work because, boundaries. Okay. Remember when we talked about, like, I trust you to be available when we need you to be available, or to put something into place if you really can't. I mean, life happens. But like, sometimes I'll have, this might be way too granular, but I'll have someone say, well, I was out to dinner. And I'm like, okay, you also had a 5,000 person event going on, at your sales hat, not your services hat. So you need to be available. And that's the coaching, right? I'm telling you this because you need to know that the impact on the business and the impact on your colleagues, and also you're better than that.
Well, I think what's really important about what you're saying is one of the things that people, I think, in leadership struggle with is the complexity of people. Because like what you've just described is not a checklist. It's not like, oh, they weren't here or they were here, boop, and we're done.
Yeah.
That is a little bit of the old school way that you were talking about it. It is also oversimplified and not the way people exist in the world. And what you're describing is the way to coach people through learning how to set the boundaries, not as excuses, but as a way to care for themselves and a way to like, okay, how do I integrate? Because I also think it's about integration because you're a whole person and
Right.
we don't want to live separate lives. That's actually really dangerous to live separate
Right.
lives.
Yeah.
But how do you coach people, the yous on the other end, who are always on, always available, and they don't notice that it's starting to impact their team and themselves in negative ways?
I'm a tell it like it is girl. So hey, can I have a difficult conversation with you? Are you in a headspace to have a challenging conversation with me? Because I want to bring some things. I just learned this acronym, FBI, feelings, behaviors, impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, if you let it go too long, then the person thinks it's okay. And then when you finally bring it up, they're like, what the hell? I've been doing, you just
I've
telling
been
me.
doing this for years.
Yeah. So I do have those people. And if they're in a leadership role, I say, consider the example you're setting for the people that you're leading and that you're developing, that if you're working at this level, they feel like they have to, and they'll say, that's just how I'm wired. I'm like, I know, but you're the example. People want your job. They think that they have to be there before you and they can't leave until you leave, all of those things. And also I need you to go take care of yourself so that when you're here, you're the person we hired. And when you're burning your candle so much, you come here and you're not yourself. You're not bringing your best self because you haven't taken a minute. And it's okay for you to tell me you don't know what to come off the plate.
Yeah.
You need help navigating, because it's really hard in the events business, especially for people that are operating, not selling, to say, you worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, take Monday off. They're like, I can't take Monday off. I have a load in for my event on Tuesday.
Mm.
Like, that's shitty for you to say, take Monday off. I'm just going to be home stressing out. And so it's like, okay, what would help you? What would you, is there someone else that can start the load in? Can you sleep in? Can you come in at 11 instead of coming in at 7? Can I do the load in? Like, I can handle a load in. Or, I can't, I have these 9 calls. Okay. Are any of these calls movable? Can someone else take the call? If it's a salesperson, like, I can take your leads today. You should take a day off. I call it sender receiver in the office because we're in a group setting. So it can't just be the leader watching out for these things, right? Like colleagues need to be watching out for each other. And so inspiring, like, be aware of what's happening around you. If someone doesn't see themselves, if someone seems really overwhelmed, what everyone hates is, what can I do? Being aware. Okay, someone has like a major event going on. Just walk up to their cube and say, I'm going to go walk the space right now and make sure we're ready for load in. You stay at your desk. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to make sure I heard in the meeting, you don't want any of those disposable garbage cans anywhere. I'm going to go do that walkthrough right now. Or like, oh, I know you have a huge turn. We had something in the space and we have to flip it. Just walking in the room,
Mhm.
you know?
Thank-
So for those people who feel strung out or beyond their bandwidth, it can't just be the leader. Um, and you know, I mean, we could talk about this for hours, but creating a environment where it's safe to say I'm maxed out
Mhm.
and making sure they know it's safe to say that. And as we, you know, have transition and people are reporting to different people, they're still working the way they worked under the old leader.
Yeah.
And the old leader's not maybe there for a reason anymore. They don't have to keep working like that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how and I don't want to call those people the high performers, because there's people that have boundaries that are very high performers, right? In some cases, even more highly performing because they understand they need to turn the switch off. And so also calling that to their attention. You're in high performer camp. However, you working 100 hours a week is not going to make you a high performer.
One of the things that I'm hearing from you, and I'd love for you to tell me if this is accurate. I've heard you say a lot of specific, overt, and explicit things about how we do it this way. So one of the things, the way that I describe culture is the way we work together, the way we flow together.
Mhm.
And so I use water, as this example of the way we flow together. And we want to, as leaders, direct the water where we want it to go. And that requires, what you're doing is like, we use FBI, we use, feelings, behavior, and impact, or we use being aware. You had a very specific term for that. And then I also heard you say, hey, I heard in the meeting, which tells me you have something set up where there's either a status meeting or a weekly, like who's working on what, there's some kind of meeting name. And those are all systems that you have put in place. How do you connect the way you want your employees to interact and put that into a system that helps sustain you, so you've got space to go over to somebody and say, oh, I know I heard,
Yeah.
because there was some clear communication that happens regularly to
Yeah.
then help somebody else.
Yeah. So we have a weekly meeting, team meeting, and we also have weekly one-on-ones. So I have one-on-ones with my directs, and then my directs have one-on-ones with their directs. 10 minutes for you, 10 minutes for me, 10 minutes to talk about the future. Talk about the future doesn't mean I want to be the president of the company. It's like, what's happening with you? What's going on in your work life, your personal life, like in the next week. And then the other thing that we have done, the framework that we have made so that we can have those conversations, as we developed team norms
Mm-hmm.
with our people and culture team. We have this amazing VP of talent and development, might be his title. And he introduced the concept of norms, which are unwritten rules of how things are going to roll. And just actually getting more intentional about, like, let's agree on what our behaviors are going to be. And so it took us a while. It took us probably 4 months. Like, we started really big. We had like 137. And we narrowed it down. Now we have like,
What a great process to
yeah,
hear all of the unwritten rules. Even if you don't at the end of the day agree upon them, you've at least heard, oh, I
right,
had no idea somebody thought that was an expectation. Like,
right.
such a powerful process.
Yes. And everyone had a voice. And, the things that came out of it as leaders, we would have a debrief afterwards, and I'd be like, I'm so frustrated because people are saying they don't feel like they can speak their mind. What are we doing that makes them feel that way? And then we were able to uncover with them, what the root of that was. It's old story, other job, right? It's wounds from something else, childhood.
Oh yeah. Those old stories. Those
Yes.
stories bring them to work.
Right. Or like, one of our big ones is context. It's one of our big norms. Like, we need context. We need to know the why. And I feel like I'm a pretty seasoned leader, and I feel like I'm pretty emotionally intelligent and present and self-aware. And what I said to them is, from my lens, I feel like I'm giving context. So what the invitation is, when you feel like there's not context, you just say to me, we still don't understand why, or can you provide more context? And I was like, let's use the word context, like, more context, please. Like, can we get the context on that? Because I'm just going to go about my business thinking I've provided context.
Yeah.
And then I've also said to them, not every decision is a vote. I'm going to make some decisions, but I'll give you the context. So, so the norms, like assume best intent. We have a boundaries norm. We have hospitality first as a norm. So that is like bridging the gap between the meetings and how we're behaving every day. Understand what energizes them, what drains them. So it's strengths, unrealized strengths, learned behaviors, and weaknesses. And so if you have a roadmap into how someone's wired, it helps you understand, oh, that's Carrie. She's got gratitude as her number one strength. She might be leaning too hard into gratitude today. We actually might need to say to her that there's some serious shit we need to talk about over here. Okay.
You don't have to just bypass it with your gratitude.
Or humor. Like, no, too soon, not funny right now.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite stories. I have a colleague whose strength is prevention. And for me, it feels like she's throwing up roadblocks to every single thing all the time. So I would get really, really frustrated with her. Like I was translating it as negativity and like not being on the bus and like resistance, but really it was just her overusing her prevention. And so having access to this and the norms, I can be like, okay, is it possible that maybe we're overusing prevention right now? Is that what's happening? And she'll be like, oh shit, totally. Yes, I'm sorry.
So it's a perfect example of why a strength is, or a weakness is a strength that is misused or overused. It's almost always the flip side of something that you do really well,
right?
That you've gone
Just
over into the shadow side of it and are usually unaware.
Yeah.
And because it works for you, this worked.
Right.
And now it's not. So such a good example.
Yeah. One thing that I'm struggling with, and I know this is an area of expertise with you, is conflict. And how to have healthy conflict. And even more, what's happening is the avoiding of the conflict. So it's just sitting there.
That's way more common. It's far more common than having too much.
Like, I just don't want to go there, so I'm not going to go there. And I'm just going to let it like grow mold and spores.
And then it turns black and then
so that's an area that I struggle with on my crew. And in a fast-paced world with different generations, personality types, work styles, and with the advent of you're not always in the office together. So it's really challenging sometimes. Sometimes it could be 2 weeks before you're going to see somebody in person because of business travel or whatever.
Right.
And you really think you should have this conversation in person, and you should, but are you going to let it go 2 weeks? And then by 2 weeks, you're like, whatever, we'll see if it happens again.
Yeah. You're describing exactly how that happens because your intentions are all there to do it in the ideal way, because you want to do it right. You want to do it well. You want to care for people. You don't want it's already hard enough. I want to use all the tools that I have to make it go the best that I can is what that intention is. And also the avoidance of, well, then maybe I don't have to actually do it. Like those two things collide and because both are true.
Right.
And especially for you as an Enneagram 2 and me as a 7, like that avoidance is exactly how we want to handle conflict.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's totally fine. Or I'll just do it.
Yes.
Those are kind of the things that come up. So addressing it it's hard to address it when it can't be the ideal circumstances. And so often it's weighing, if I let this stay, will I commit to still having this conversation? Like asking myself that question for real. And if I'm not, no, I know myself, I'm not going to do that. Or I am going to commit, I'm going to put it in the calendar and I'm going to ask for the conversation now. So it happens. Or is it, if I know that I'm not going to, is it going to grow so much that I can't move past it? Like, am I going to keep ruminating on this and am I going to keep doing it? So then it is more important to do it in a less than ideal, but still in the range of healthy way. So which is typically either a phone call or a Zoom, some kind of face-to-face, voice-to-voice as you can, and kind of weighing those things because it's challenging in that way.
Yeah.
Push other people through that. I don't know if this is a Carrie Campbell, Michael Whitmer specialty, some of my favorite twos in my life, or if this is how you have intentionally figured out how to do this. I always say for Michael, he has this way of kicking you in the ass, but you think he's just patting your back. And you have really built a career on saying no in a way that feels like a yes.
Mm.
And what can you tell me a story about how that strategy or that skill set really saved a relationship, saved a client, made money for a sale? How does that work for you? And how do you see that in the outcome?
If I'm saying no to a colleague, in the way that I do it, I intentionally try to make them feel seen. Like I'm saying no to protect a yes later. I'm
Mm,
saying not right now. I'm saying no because here's the context. Making the colleague feel like I'm not saying no because I don't believe in them or their idea. I am not a fan of saying no and not providing the context.
mhm,
And there's also, we're almost there with that idea, but how about if we did it like this? How does
mhm.
that, try that on? Like, what would that feel like to you? And the reason I'm suggesting that is because it's probably going to save us $50,000 if we do it that way. And they go, oh yeah, whatever. The other thing that I'm learning to do when I feel like it's an immediate no is to
Mm,
stay in inquiry.
mhm.
Like, tell me why you thought of this, da, 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 da. Like with colleagues, or people I'm on a committee with, like, that's interesting perspective, say more. What's that like for you? Like, help me understand why this is important. Like being open to when my gut reaction is no, like staying in curiosity for a minute to see if it's a yes or if we could come up with a yes together, or like, I really want to get to yes with you on this, but it might look different than you're kind of envisioning it right now. And that's what I use in my sales role. I want to provide everything that you're dreaming of here. There's a few roadblocks. Let's work together and like collaborate on how we can get there.
Yeah.
Or no, we cannot have a bonfire in the outfield. And here's why.
I'm sorry, that's the fire marshal won't let us do that. I
No,
love this idea.
this client was like, I want like 14 fire pits and then Adirondack chairs all in the outfield. Wouldn't that be so cool? Like a picnic. I'm like, that would be so amazing, but we have baseball. Can we do that in the concourse for you? Or can we do 2 stations out on the warning track? And, I mean, like, there's times to say no, right? Like, there's a lot of times to say no. But I think what I try to do is make the person feel seen and like serious, like this is a serious conversation that we're having. Like, I want to work with you and I want to make this in the sales role. I want to make your vision come to life. I think what you're just told me probably isn't going to work in the way that you're envisioning it, but let's figure out like, what are the most important things? Can you rank this for me?
Yeah.
Or we can totally do this. The investment's going to look different. We're gonna have to add a 0. So that's kind of how I do it. I think it's like really sitting in it. It's like the Brene Brown, like you can be yelling down the hall, like, I'm so sorry you're down there. That sucks for you. Or you can get down in the hole with them and be like, how can we figure this out? I say we a ton. Like, we have to make this happen. We are going to make this happen. It's going to probably look different. Or I say, if I can make this happen for you, do I have your commitment?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I can make it happen, but if I can, are we there? Because sometimes they're like, no, and we need this, right? And so like,
Yeah. I love that idea of asking for the commitment, because one of the things that is a really healthy leadership skill is realistic expectations. And expectations are always spoken, agreed upon, reasonable, and resourced. And that's all over the place. That's when you're dealing with a client, a colleague, whatever, because I'm all for unreasonable asks. Can we have a bonfire in the outfield? Well, that's now spoken, but it's not agreed upon. And it's unfortunately not reasonable or resource, but you
yes.
kind of move around it. But then asking for the commitments, like, if I can make this happen, I'm not sure if I have the resources, kind of thing, or you have the resources, then okay, we are agreeing. So it's like, in a way, you are helping in the brainstorming phase of expectations. Because I think some people often just think expectations appear out of nowhere because they're old stories and stuff like that. But when you are creating healthy expectations, it's in the hole with people. It's a
Right.
back and forth. And then you are asking for that agreement at the end. And I think sometimes that part is skipped. Like, are we just like your norms? Like, the
Yeah.
norms are, hey, we had 190,000 norms, and then we brought it down to 20, that we've all said, these are our expectations and we agree upon them. And we
Yes.
say that they're reasonable and I can agree to these. And I am resourced to do that in my role and capacity in my humanity. And so I think that's such a great part of saying no in a yes way, is actually getting to really healthy expectations.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well said. That was good.
Yeah, well, you.
Like, I mean, the way you framed it.
Yeah, that's really
I
good.
think too, like sometimes, again, in the business world, you finally get to yes on something, and then here comes the other list of things that you're like,
Yes.
dude,
Yeah.
what?
We call that out of scope.
Scope creep. Scope creep. Yes.
Mission
Um,
scope creep. We like to creep.
but I think that there's accountability on behalf of the salesperson, that you have to do the work. You have
Yes.
to say, is there anything you haven't told me? Is there
Hmm.
anything that's going to derail this? Is there
Yes.
anything on your wish list that we haven't talked about? Because
Yeah.
this is what I'm working with.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So important to uncover all of those things, which is in that context.
yes.
It's the same idea. How does doing all of these things, creating integration, learning boundaries, coaching employees, establishing culture actively, all of the great things that we've talked about, how for you does that connect to joy? How does that work, which feels really worky work,
Mhm.
create joy for you personally? And then how do you see that on your team?
Yeah. First, for me, I think it's me understanding where the joy gets sucked out
Mm,
and trying to avoid those pitfalls, like avoiding conflict. That's when you just don't like work anymore, because you're
yeah,
like, this thing is still hanging over my head, right?
yeah.
But what all the things that I described connect to joy in that I know when the alarm goes off, the people on my team are ready to go to work. Like, they're not crying in the shower on Sunday night. I mean, there's probably exceptions to that rule, but like watching someone come to life when they feel seen, heard, valued, and they understand their impact, watching people start to raise their hand outside of their lane, watching people like will be sitting in a meeting and something's established that it's not really anyone's job. Like, we need an onboarding manual that puts everything in one place in a Google Doc, so that if you're a newbie, you don't have to ask the same question 30. And like watching a senior manager who's an operator, like an operations manager, be like, can I own that? I used to work at Disney and I want to do it.
Mm,
That means that she knows she's connected, she feels valued, she understands her gifts, she understands her impact. So that's when I get joy, when I see people growing and learning. I also get joy when we're working really well together as a team on a big event, like a commencement,
mm,
or like we just had a filming project the other night. And it wasn't the whole team, but it was like really short term, herding cats of a filming project, filming a TV show, reality show. And, just like all the crazy requests on site, the scope creep and everything, but just everyone working together because it feels safe and if we feel connected to each other. And like me being like, Julio, don't kill me. They want to flip flop the tour in the field part. And him being like, okay, but the scoreboards. I'm like, crap, the scoreboards. Go back to the client. He's like, I want to stand there with you because I'm the face of the operation. So he's like, I'm going to come with you. We'll talk to her. And we were like, we can go on the field. You're just not going to have the scoreboards. So our recommendation is that we keep it the way it is. And then she's like, but our executives. And I was like, where's your executive? Over there. I'll go love up on your executive. Julia's like, I'll be with the client. You go smooch the exec. Like that's when the joy comes in. Like, we're working like in concert together. It's like synergy,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And there's times when there's no synergy. And that's when I'm like, okay, so there's still work to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And then it's like uncovering like, why does it feel like this? Okay, well, this one client, this colleague is upset because this person's working on the project, but she really wanted to work on it. No, you didn't say you wanted to work on it. How do I know you wanted to work on it? And also you're working on 75 other things this week. So in the spirit of not making you work 100 hours.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's all the things all the time.
All the people. Well, I mean, having experienced your hospitality firsthand, I keep trying to decide if I'm going to tell this story in the book or not. Of being at Fenway and having a surprise period, not having things with me, and your team just was like, yeah, we'll go find stuff for you. So, I mean, which is such an intimate, personal thing that women experience all the time, but like, we're not typically afraid of, I think most women are fine asking somebody else for something, but to ask a stranger in a work context in that way was a slight like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this, or there will be worse consequences. And your team, both men and women, went to town. Like, they went and found things and got the stuff, and also told you, they're like, oh, I thought these things were already in place. And you immediately, like, I saw you work as a leader as well to fix it for later, not just fix it for me, but anticipate the need of somebody else and fix it for later. So I see what you're talking about play out in that. So even if I don't end up telling the story in the book, I want you to know that I watched that happen in such a really cool way with your team. And so thank you.
That was part 2 with Carrie. I mean, isn't she the best? Like, so much gold in that conversation. And I just feel so privileged every time I listen to her that I get to call her friend. What I love here that for you is this practical example of courage. It's not just this big dramatic act. It's this setting the boundary, asking for the resource, saying no with some more context, having conversations before, resentment turns into your side hustle you're trying to manage. And here's the question I want you to take with you from this episode. What conversation are you postponing? Now, you may be postponing it because you want it to happen in this ideal way. And could healthy be enough? I know that one stings a little. It stings me too. I just thought of my own conversation. Aren't we all welcome? So next in the series, I'm talking with Dr. Jacqueline Kerr about change, why people resist change, how systems shape our behavior, and what it actually takes to build something new when the old way is not just baked in, but like cemented. And if this series has been stirring something for you and that is interesting to you, I'm building a program for you. I want to help you as the leader reduce hidden drag, escape reactive patterns, communicate more effectively, and rebalance how you work and lead inside the joy ratio. Way more than you can do from just listening to a podcast. Something that brings you into community, brings you into accountability without overfunctioning, constant overwhelm, or sacrificing your performance or your well-being. This week, if Carrie helped us lead differently person to person, Jacqueline is really going to help us understand how change spreads at the level of teams and systems and organizations. And if you know others who want to join us in this experiment, please share this episode with them. When you share, rate, and subscribe, you guys, it brings so much. It brings our collective courage together to do it differently, to put joy in the center, because joy makes work work. You can join the waitlist at jenwhitmer.com/waitlist. And then while you're there, grab a copy of Joyosity at jenwhitmer.com/books or wherever books are sold.